All right.
Malcolm, how's it going, buddy?
I'm going, Jason.
Which part of Kiev you at? You in the center?
Yeah, I'm Zelensky. It's Zelensky. Sakskanskого Zelensky.
Actually, it's a dragon.
Are we live?
Yeah. You gotta.
All right, folks. Okay, I think we're live. First of all, I want to apologize for the technical difficulties. For all of you that know me, I'm not technically inclined, but we are trying to do something special here today from Love Remembers. We have an all-star cast of some of the most, not only live in Ukraine, but people that know behind the stories and what's going on and with what's happening right now. The media is not reporting on it. I know very few are talking about it. We've mentioned the 28 peace plan that supposedly Donald Trump and his allies reported. Today Zelensky responded. I know he's coming to. So we're going to jump right into it. We have an all-star cast. Please make sure follow each and every one of these individuals on. We're streaming now on YouTube. We're streaming now on Substack, all over. So please make sure you give each and every one of these people a follow because they are incredible with what they do. Jason, start us off. Tell us what's happening. You're right in Kiev. Zelensky just came out and made a statement about this whole thing. Give us an update.
Yeah, so President Zelensky said that Ukraine's position had not fundamentally changed, which is that it's not going to sacrifice its territory or agree to something that's going to be a bad deal for Ukraine. And he went on to say further that that might risk alienating some of our major partners, which he means the United States, but it's something that was necessary. At the same time, he also continued on the path to say that looking ahead, Ukraine realizes that it must accept to at least sit down and discuss these things to show that it's reasonable. So the Russians cannot say, well, look, the Ukrainians won't even talk about it. They won't even discuss it. And then, the Ukrainians end up on the bad side of the Trump administration. The objective is that we will show that we are interested in discussing it. We're not closing down any talks. We're willing to talk with anybody, but we're not willing to take a bad deal. And I think it's a very reasonable statement on his part, right? And so, and I think it's a positive adjustment in their position because the Russians were definitely using this against the Ukrainians historically. They said, we're not going to talk about it unless this sort of criteria is met. But I say, no, listen, we'll talk to them. But you know what our rules are, and it's not going to change.
Right.
It's absolutely a really smart position to take because it'll show ultimately that the Russians, they're full of it. They're not really interested in peace. They're not interested in making a deal. They're interested in trying to extract as much as they can from Ukraine, take advantage of their contacts in Washington to allow that to happen. And that's what this is all really about. And I think the Ukrainians better and better are playing the game and understand how the Americans work so they can better work with the White House.
Yeah, they definitely figure Trump out. They understand if you praise him and you try to be nice to him, there's always a chance of he might be able to say something or do something. The only problem right now, Trump is under so much pressure, especially with what's happening here with the Epstein files that links into what's happening overseas with the compromise stuff. That I don't think the pleasantries is going to help. I think part of the statement that Zelensky said, I think the important part in there is where he said we're on the verge of losing a powerful ally, because I think they understand that this we're coming to a heads up. What do you say, Malcolm?
Yeah, I think Zelensky's absolutely right. We discussed this yesterday in our Substack podcast that it was very obvious, and it's been obvious since January, that Trump uses military support, intelligence support, and weapons as his leverage to get Zelensky to essentially surrender Ukraine, at least 12% of it, right? Based on that. I think Zelensky also knows, certainly since his first meeting with Trump, where he was disrespected, that the United States cooperation was coming to an end. It was shut off twice. Once just for fun, and the second time as part of the foreign policy. So, Zelensky has been making a good headway at getting this war to be fueled, funded, and resupplied through the Europeans. And I already saw there was a report from Reuters just an hour ago saying that if Zelensky does not agree to all 28 points of this deal by the 27th, the U.S. will cut off all military, economic, and intelligence aid to Ukraine. And you know what that means. That means Trump will consider U.S. involvement with Ukraine fiction, and he will announced a massive economic plan for Russia. He's desperate to get as much as $500 billion in sanctioned money in Russia into Trump organization hands. So, bringing Putin back into the G8 and all of that, which is in this plan. But I think the special relationship between Kiev and Washington is finished.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Actually, Alex, you spoke earlier this morning. That's one of the things you mentioned to me. What Malcolm just said. You said that you were hearing from some of your sources that the American generals that were in Ukraine, were actually threatening and putting pressure, saying that if Zelensky doesn't accept this deal, that they're cutting off all.
It's not only that. It's not only that. Hello, everybody, again.
Right.
It's not only that. First of all, ever since early this morning, there was Peskov kept on going online and saying, "This is the first time we hear about it. We don't know nothing about the plan. We didn't take no part in it."
Huh.
Great place to freeze. That, folks,
Great
this
place
is
to
live.
freeze.
This is live Ukraine.
Yeah, I think it's important also to know that the Secretary of the Army was in Ukraine to deliver this deal. General Kellogg, who was the special advisor to Ukraine for Donald Trump, has been fired. Or let's put it this way, he has been quietly replaced. He's left his job. They replaced him with, can I point out to you, a 38-year-old Secretary of the Army whose only experience was 4 years in the Army and only made second lieutenant, the lowest rank that you can make. And that guy is Trump's go-to guy for Ukraine now, bringing the full force of that. There's a weird thing going on in Washington now where the Pentagon is being told Ukraine can't win this war. The CIA doesn't say that. Defense intelligence doesn't say that. Pentagon analysts don't say that. The partnership doesn't say that. But Donald Trump and his coterie of idiots says that all the time. And now they're just going to try to make it happen.
Yeah, no, they're Alex, you back?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I'm trying to change I have a bad connection. I have no power. My lights are out.
Oh,
So
that's
give
we
me a
forget.
second.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Stay with me.
Mute your mic.
Mute your mic. Oh, well, we'll get him. Oh, he's back on a different one. Yeah. We're back. Yeah. He's having problems. Yuri, while we're trying to figure out Alex's problem, tell us what you're hearing, because I know you've been reporting on this for so many years already.
Anyway.
We got Alex back. Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
So he says Ukraine Zelensky better take the deal, even though we don't know nothing about it, but he better take the deal because the way the war is going, we're going to take more land. And then the deal is not going to be on the table.
Yeah, so I think what let me just, I guess, break down what Alex is trying to say, because what we were talking about earlier in the morning is that these generals, like you said, Malcolm, some of these, I mean, I don't even know if you want to call them, what their rank is, but they're actually right now threatening Ukraine to either take the deal, doesn't matter what is on the deal, because otherwise all cooperation is going to stop. Yuri, what are you hearing from your sources and from, the reporting you've been doing?
Liv, thank you for having me. It is really just such an honor to be sitting here with you and Jason, with Malcolm. It's every time I, see you, I just kind of awe a little bit. But because my I guess hobby is I read newspapers and then I go on YouTube and I talk about it in Russian. And I have a kind of a sizable audience in Ukraine these days. And so what I'm seeing is what I'm seeing in Washington Post. Where I see a proposition that is totally unacceptable to Ukraine, and I just I see it from my comments, and this is actually I wanted to share with you because I did a stream, and as we're now doing our stream in English, the Russian language comments are pouring in, and I wanted just to share this one with you, and first I'll just translate it, interpret it into English. We are ready. We are with our president. Now has become a moment when we will either break or we will become a united nation. All who wanted to leave left. Those who stayed realized that every day could be their last, and we are staying. Of course, many will still leave, but we will stay in our country, in our house. Shame to Trump, shame to America if it will let Putin try to consume us. And shame to our collaborationists who betrayed or are betraying Ukrainian people in hope that Putin will appreciate their efforts. Slava Ukraini, Geroyam Slava, we're with our president.
I mean, that hits me. I feel that's majority of all Ukrainians right now. I think, and what I think this is uniting the country even more, even stronger. Instead of, I mean, and we're going to get into a lot of other things that is happening behind the scenes there. Alex, I think we got your connection back. You wanna go?
Well, I just saw the Zelensky just spoke with Vance. The conversation just finished,
Ah,
and and when he came up, he only made one statement. He said, "Same old, same old." I heard it when the war started, either or, and I didn't budge then, and I'm not gonna budge now. And he says, if
So is Zelensky, Jason? Zelensky's in meeting with Vance in the United States already. Zelensky's here, or
I think it might have
or
been a call.
or it was a phone call.
I think it was a call.
yeah. No, it's not a call. It's just the signal keeps, because I have power down in my area. So
Yeah, I
that's
get
why the signal keeps on getting lost.
No, we meant
Anyway,
Zelensky was calling Vance, right?
No. Well, yes, they had a conversation. Yes, they had a conversation, and no statements came out. But he came out and said, "Same old, same old." Either or. He says, "I'm very used to either or."
You know,
So he says, "I gave my answer at the inauguration when I promised to protect the sovereignty of Ukraine, the freedom of Ukraine, and the freedom of all the people. So I already gave my answer a long time ago."
these are I'm looking at the 28 points. They're the exact same points that were offered to Biden in March, April of 2022. These have never changed. And Witkoff and Trump all seem to think, oh, this is a great idea. This will get us to a Nobel Prize. By the way, that November 27th deadline is so that they can apply for a Nobel on January 1st. They're due January 1st. This is crazy. It's not going to happen.
That's
Zelensky
all he
going
wants.
same old is a
He just
confirmation.
wants the signature.
So let me ask you this question.
Surrender.
He just wants the signature.
Well,
That's it.
So what do you see? I'm going to give you my opinion and from what I'm hearing from my sources. But Jason, like, what do you see being on the ground there, feeling it, hearing it from? You've been speaking to a lot of people close up in the administration. I mean, obviously, we could sit here and talk back and forth, but we understand that, and we'll go into the reasoning why. But Trump's going to walk away. Trump's not going to all of a sudden change his mind tomorrow and start saying, stop this war. I'm on Ukrainian side. So we're headed for, another day, another week, another couple of days. Eventually, we're going to get to that point where, Trump either going to walk away or, do something again. To stay in there, because the one thing that I'm hearing from my sources is that, and tell me if I'm wrong, maybe what you're saying is that the Ukrainians and the Europeans would love for Trump to already just get out of the situation. It's the Russians that are keeping him in there because to keep the chaos, to keep the string attached, to make Zelensky, talk the way, not to be able to make moves and stuff like that.
Sure, I absolutely agree with you. And I think there's something important to notice about this is that right now the Russians have done something different from what they were doing before. The fact that Lavrov was taken out of this, the foreign minister, the fact that others like the ambassador are not involved in this, and it's going to Dmitrov, Kirill Dmitrov, who's essentially a relative of Putin's, and his daughter, Putin's daughter, is the best friend of, and the godmother, I think, of the wife of Dmitrov. So they're almost family level relationships. The fact that he's coming is important. So that guy has, remember, his MBA from Harvard. The guy is a business guy, grew up in the States. But why is that important? Because it seems he's trying to appeal to the Trump people directly about things on a personal level, trying to appeal to them with business sort of stuff. So they're not saying the official diplomat. They're not saying a guy who's like, let's outline this in big diplomatic language and empty words. Here's a guy who wants to go cut deals because that's what he does for a living. So that's one thing. I think it's important to notice. But the second thing here is the Russians in this whole process have been leaking tons of stuff because they think they can put pressure on the White House by doing that. And it's very clear what's occurring here. Now, Zelensky was absolutely correct in what he just said, which he said, listen, we'll engage because we have to engage, essentially, so that we don't, act like we're not interested in peace. But it's exactly the same as what it was before. Nothing's changed. And that's why the Europeans, I think, are rushing to come out with something really quickly. But another aspect of this, which is sort of interesting, is there's a lot of different pressures here operating. And I think that's sort of the key part that's probably overlooked a lot. Is so on the side of Moscow, they got some big problems right now. One is the sanctions that they're scared of coming down on their oil companies. That could wipe out 40% of their budget. Already this month, December, or next month, I should say December, was projected to be a really bad month in Russia because they've used up their money for the year. The new budget hasn't come in. But if they lose the oil revenues, if the U.S. sanctions really were to hit, that would be an atomic bomb for their economy. To avoid that, they're doing their best right now to get the U.S. to slow down the sanctions. So right now they could go to Trump and say, listen, don't do the sanctions right now. We're about to cut a deal. We're this close to cutting a deal. You just got to go with us a little bit longer. And that's what they're really trying to avoid here. I think that's what the Russians really want, because this would wipe out their economy. Now, on the side of Trump, he's trying to avoid the Epstein scandal. He's trying to get the Nobel Prize. He's got motivations as well to be doing this show right now. But at the end of the day, nothing's changed. It's the exact same proposals they had before, as Malcolm pointed out.
I think that actually Dmitriev agrees that this is the same proposal, because a quote that I saw from him said that we're pleased that our position is now being better heard. So it doesn't say that our position changed. It just means that they're being more receptive to our points. But I think that the administration is just miscalculating how weak Zelensky is. But I'm curious, Lev, you mentioned that what's going to happen is that there's going to be Trump is trying to get out and blame Ukraine. But the other option is what's going to happen, what happened last time. Europeans all show up and tell him how amazing he is and sing him praises. Maybe that's what this is about.
No, it's a little bit different. I'm going to tell you guys what I'm hearing and what's happening. This is a lot more different, a lot more serious this time. Oh, the lights went on. Wow, look at that. We have lights in Ukraine, guys.
Like this, boom, magic.
we have lights. Look at that. We just got lights in Kiev.
It's a happy time.
Happy time. No, so let me tell you what's going on and why you're seeing these things happen. None of this is coincidence. None of this is all of a sudden, Witkoff meeting and Jason said, Lavrov are out. The players of the players. You don't see the Marco Rubios, the Lavrovs, or the officials. You see now back channel guys doing business. Why? Because, and this is what I keep talking about, and I think is important for us to make sure that everybody understands. The Epstein files connect to what's happening right now with Russia, because a lot of people have been talking about compromise and all the stuff that the Russians have on Donald Trump. In 2016, it was talking about some P tape and all this type of stuff, and that they have while he was in this building that he wanted to build in Moscow, and this was what they were concentrating on. That's not really what the compromise was about. There's no P tape. The compromise is they've been actually for the past, what I'm hearing, and I'm going to be reporting on it soon, for the past 40 years, there was a operation, not just on Donald Trump, but others in the United States during the KGB era beginning, and then going through even after the fall of Russia, to be able to use their oligarchs to be able to infiltrate a lot of people here. What we saw in some of the Epstein files that were leaked, not leaked, but given by the House Judiciary Committee that came from the state, showed you that, what's his name? Epstein wasn't involved with Viktor Churkin, who used to be the ambassador. They had a very close relationship, and he was giving a lot of information about Donald Trump. You also saw in some of those responses between Epstein and his brother Mark talking about Steve Bannon giving information to Putin. So what I'm hearing from my sources that there's a lot of what Trump realized and what was given to him by Pam Bondi was not just the sexual stuff and all of the pedophilia and all of that, but also all of the business ties, all of the money links, and all of the ways that Trump didn't even know he was linked to Russia through certain stuff that was going on, that they had investigation. And not that to say that it was illegal. because if I'm sure if it was there illegal, any one of those administrations would probably have gone after him. But I think the actual look and to show the connection that between the compromise that Russia might have on Trump, to be able to for him to act this way, and that is why you're seeing Donald Trump very frustrated. Donald Trump wants to get out of this, but the Russians are forcing his hand and keeping him in this. That's why they keep going back and forth. That's why you see Dmitry. I'll tell you another thing. So another thing I'm hearing is that in October, when Kirill Dmitriev came here on his supposed trip to meet with Anna Paula Luna and talk about this, they were, remember, supposedly they were going to release the JFK files that the KGB handed over. That never, all of that was just, it was all smoke and mirrors, because what really was going on was Dmitriev came here, met with Kushner, met with Witkoff in Miami, and one of the things that was discussed was this elaborate, which you're seeing play out in the past 3-4 weeks, and I want you, Jason, maybe to comment on some of this stuff, is this whole plan about corruption inside of Zelensky's inner circle, about that there's money taken from the Americans, and this is being put together as Plan B from originally when they wanted to do regime change. If you remember, originally when they were saying Trump's administration was pushing for elections, they were saying they wanted elections, JD Vance, all of them, that first blowout. It was because they understood they needed to change Zelensky. This is all coming from Putin. This is not Trump and Trump's team coming up with this idea. This is being told to them by Witkoff, and this is what you're seeing play out. So the next step is now to try to get Zelensky out and caught up in this whole corruption scam with this $100 million that was from the energy company. And this is what I'm hearing going to be another ultimatum when Zelensky is going to be down here. Trump is going to give him another basically chance, get out and live a peaceful life, or get swept up, because what I'm hearing is that Kash Patel and is also right now they're planning to open up an FBI investigation into some of this stuff, because if you remember, going back to even during the campaign days, there was a big Russian disinformation campaign run by MAGA and everybody, that there was constant corruption, Zelensky buying houses and all of this. They constantly try to push it, and now they're actually going to try to push it in a way where I'm hearing that Dmitriev brought actually certain disinformation compromise type of for them to be able to use.
So it's really interesting. What's really interesting, Lev, you got a great point, and I think you're right. Is if you look at where this scandal started with the Zelensky administration, the $100 million. Now, listen, there was definitely corruption. That part I don't doubt. But where did the information come from, and why did it come out right now? It came from a guy named Derkach. Derkach, as you well enough know, of all people, you know who he is. But why would you be at Derkach's apartment? So Derkach was considered to be, by many people, to be a Russian agent, a known Russian agent. He had worked for pro-Russian political parties before. He'd been accused of corruption in the energy sector specifically before. And so at his house, or his office, was recorded a lot of these different conversations that became the base of this. That guy, after the invasion of Ukraine began, fled Ukraine and moved to Russia. He's now a senator in the Russian Senate. He'd been a member of parliament in Ukraine. He is a senator in Russia now. So he was a turncoat. I mean, he's a spy the whole time.
By the way, just he was Rudy Giuliani's main guy and Ron Johnson's guy for sending information. All of that stuff was coming from Derkach. Continue, Jason, please.
So that guy, yeah, it's a true story. And that guy though, so that Derkach, in his office there, or I should say apartment, was recording these conversations, or somebody was recording the conversations. But if the guy was a known Russian asset, I think it's very safe to assume that it was actually the Russians doing it, since he was working for them. So if he was recording these conversations, just logically, and now he's in Russia, how did they get to the hands of the Americans? I'd only have to imagine that it came from the Russians, who said, hey, listen, this would be a really good time to pull us out. And that's where this is coming from. And really, just logically, that's where it came from. And I don't say this as a means of defense or anything else. It just, well, where else did they get it from? It was from the Russians.
No,
so
I'm hearing it was in October. He brought it here when he met with them.
No, exactly. This is
Yeah.
part of a scam. And they were going to go down this path. This is their way to try to discredit the Ukrainian side more.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, through my channels, I hear that in the 28-point plan, there was one part which was changed. Originally, the part said that uh, that America will do an audit to all the money that was given to Ukraine during the war. And that part was changed to the part that you read right now, that there is a full amnesty to everybody during the war.
Right.
There you
That
go.
that's
Yeah.
one part that
For
There
was
you
all
go.
changed.
There you
crimes.
go. There you go. All crimes. There you go. And that's exactly, now you guys are excited. That's because that's the main story. What's taking place here. This is another attempt by Putin through Trump to do a regime change in Ukraine, to install
Right.
a pro-Russian government, to be able to stop this. And this is a way. What they're selling Trump is this is his way of getting his Nobel Peace Prize and stopping the war and getting. That's why Trump keeps coming out saying we're going to stop this soon, because what they sold him is if we could, get right now Zelensky out of there, put a pro-Russian government in there, stop the war where it is, you could then take credit again for stopping a war. It doesn't matter how it stopped. It doesn't matter what happened, but you'll take credit like you took credit everywhere. Just think about it. I mean, we're still having people killed every day in the Gaza Strip, but supposedly the war stopped. You know what I'm saying to you? We still, all these.
But this
Yeah.
was not going to work, Lev. This was
Right.
not going to work because I saw some algorithms that came out. First of all, yesterday there was a Verkhovna Rada meeting. And in Verkhovna Rada, there was no rebuttal, there was no backing up, there was forward, full forward. And then today, and Zelensky responded. He says, the corruption, it was done behind my back. I dealt with it. I blew it up. Now I gave it to district attorney. Let him deal with it. They're gonna clean it up. Today he came on national TV and addressed people all day. He said, people, we need to become as one. We need to stop bullshit. We need to stop doing the wrong things. In order for us to win, we have to stand together. So if the president is talking to people like this, that means he's not going anywhere.
Oh, I don't think he's
I,
going
I,
either. Yeah, I agree with you.
he's going anyway. This is going to be, he's going to put up a stand. He will put up a stand.
Well, also keep in mind the other thing that they is very important that the Russians try to change in this to put into this is to limit Ukraine's army, which is a very important part because Ukraine now has one of the big, if not the biggest army in Eastern Europe right now, besides the Russians. I mean, and their
And
technology
it's only growing.
and it's
It's
only growing. I
growing.
was going to say that. So I mean, and this is another point I want just everybody to understand that's watching right now. We keep talking about America leaving, America staying, America help. America has not been helping for the past 9-10 months. This Ukraine has been fighting on its own. So all of the reporting we've been is, so as you could see, Putin has not taken over Ukraine. On the contrary, yes, you see a lot of death, you see a lot of destruction, obviously, because he is a terrorist and he's not hitting military targets and going after and trying to cause this despair. But you're also seeing a lot of, and like Jason said, a lot of attacks inside of Moscow. You're seeing, Ukraine, which you're not seeing on television, the media is not reporting, but the Ukrainians are literally taking out strategically. And this is the smart part. They're not hitting buildings. They're not killing people. They're not getting, what they're doing is strategically are hitting oil facilities. They're hitting the heart of where Russia makes their money to be able to pay for this stuff.
Guys, let me, I'm sorry, let me just ask you a question. With all this going on in America, I guess I worry more about Ukraine, but still, the biggest headache right now that the administration has is not Ukraine, it's Epstein. It's Epstein files, and then somebody was supposed to come and bring the JFK files, which never resurfaced the way they were supposed to resurface. But as you and I spoke about that already, whose names are not in the Epstein files? Not a
Yeah.
single Russian oligarch.
Russian oligarch. Yep,
Not
we mentioned that.
nobody, none of them. So that means that everything is coming from there. Everything is coming from there. So this is the whole fucking. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah, great
This is-
English.
This is all the game the Russians are playing. Now, but I because I've seen a lot of through my channels that their signature is all over it. This Epstein stuff that their signature is all over it. So I'll give it to you guys.
Yeah. Jump in.
I
Who wants
also,
to jump in?
well,
Yeah, go
I
ahead,
want
Yuri.
to just add to it a question that I'm trying to figure out significance of this event, and I'd love to hear from anybody. The fact that Trump has now basically lost Senate and House of Representatives, where Republicans all voted against him. Does it put him in a place of such like I don't give a anymore that I can pressure Ukraine? I don't care what the Senate or House says because I lost them anyway. That there's a kind of a certain desperation move to that.
Well, he
But
only
Yuri,
lost them in the sense
Yuri,
that on
sorry.
Epstein, but no other issue.
Yeah.
I saw a
Go
statistic
ahead.
yesterday, which I think actually really makes this all fit together. A guy that we all happen to mutually know, probably Steve Moore, has done a lot of polling of MAGA Republicans. And one of his big takeaways, the poll he just did, 92% of MAGA Republicans agree with the statement, the war started because of Joe Biden's incompetence or not screwing it up. But now Donald Trump has to resolve this, and it's his responsibility. 92% believe that Donald Trump has a responsibility to end the war. That's an insanely high number, 92%. Now, why does it make sense? Because he promised he could do it in 3 days or 1 day, whatever he said. 1 day, he said 1 day. And so,
Overnight.
yeah, exactly. So think about this. If they are expecting that, and that's what his base thinks, now they got the Epstein thing that's destroying his numbers. It's going really badly for him. He's got to do something right now to make them happy. And that, out of all the polling questions, is one of the top ones where there's unity amongst the MAGA Republicans. His job is to end this because he said he could do it in 1 day. Let's see it.
No, and like I'm telling you, the reason why there's chaos in the White House is because Donald Trump's kryptonite is this Epstein files, and it's not just about, like I said, the donors that are going to be exposed. It's not about his own disgusting behavior. It's not about the links. It's not about even the money, Alex. This is the biggest thing Donald Trump has been trying to change, and I know him very well, is since he came into office, even before it was this whole Russia collusion, the link that because of him being linked to Russia, everything he's been trying to do for all these years is trying to distance himself from Russia. He's been trying to say that Russia never helped him. Russia has nothing to do with it. He is the one in trying to paint this picture. And right now, a big chunk of information in the Epstein files has to do with all the compromise the Russians had on him and the things that were transpiring also between 2017. Because remember, Kushner met Kirill Dmitriev. Tell me if I'm right, Jason. I think it was in 2017 in Saudi Arabia when at a summit, because Kushner, they were both representing the wealth fund, the Russian wealth fund at the time, right? That's where they met. That's where their relations are flourishing. So you gotta understand. So from there on already, you start having other interaction, so remember who Putin is. He's a KGB agent. This is the profession. Russia didn't stop their FSB or their agencies. They've been around Kushner. And the other person, which is interesting that I keep talking about, which you guys understand, who was next to Kushner at the time in 2017 that wasn't talked about? It was Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff was running around trying to do business deal with the Chinese, if you remember, with and all of that. But his name didn't come up that much. But he was around that whole thing. That is why you got Witkoff and Kushner dealing with all of this stuff behind the scenes. This stuff goes a lot deeper and a lot more. So Trump is trying to, because if it comes out that the Russians are controlling Trump, he loses everything. He loses his base. He loses everything, because that is the one thing he's been trying to keep away. And with the Epstein files, he's starting to realize there was a lot more people, and one of them, which I'm hearing, I can't wait to hear more about, is Steve Bannon, that behind his back was leaking information to the Russians right before the Helsinki meeting.
I heard that too.
So we got a lot. There's a lot of that going behind the scenes.
There's a lot, and just I saw a story coming out of Financial Times that Trump's grab for Russian frozen assets puts EU Ukraine loan in doubt. So he's trying to, part of the capitulation program is to take the $140 billion and take it for Trump.
Malcolm's been saying this already.
He said this before. He sees that as a pot of money for him.
Yes.
And, I mean, if anytime you dangle, this is why you guys talk about this 40-year operation against Trump. It really started in 1977. I wrote about this in my book, Plot to Betray America.
Yep.
That it just started as a basic KGB surveillance operation against Ivana Trump. And for 10 years, her father was the guy reporting to Czech intelligence, the STB, who passed it on to the KGB. And then when he got very interested in the Soviet Union in 1988 and wanted to meet Gorshkov, that's when they said, hey, this guy is a player. All of that was shelved until 2012 when Miss Universe happened. And then Putin, a spy, goes, bring me everything you have on this guy. And they started rolling in the wheelbarrows, right? From there, who would not say, we're going to run an operation on this guy? And now they lead a president of the United States around by the nose ring.
But now, wait a minute. But there is a connection during that time in the middle, because there's this whole Epstein house that was resold to Rybolovlev.
Right.
There is a connection with
$94
Kremlin.
million house down in Florida, which we assessed was a dangle operation. It was just to see if this guy could be bought. And he was bought. And Trump, the beautiful part about this is Trump only sees money. So if the EU comes out and says, hey, this 28-point plan is not going to work, you're not going to be able to get 50% of your mining. If I were Zelensky, the play I would make would be to go to Europe and go, we're going to replace the United States right now completely. And we are only going to buy European weapons. We're only going to, if we need, we're not going to take Patriot. We want NSAMs. We want, SAMT. We want every advanced weapon system you got. Let's pay for it with Russia's money, right? Let's go. Forget the United States in its entirety. And the United States isn't going to side with Moscow completely, because Europe has banks that will keep the sanctions on Moscow. And that means American banks can't do business in Europe. The point is to be one step ahead of Trump and to, where is it? You got to dangle things in front of his eyes, right? You got to put a Rolex in front of his eyes. That's a G-Shock. But you got to put something in front of him that right now he is like a 4-month-old baby. You have to keep his attention for that moment. And if he sees all of Europe shifting to Ukraine, and that maybe $500 billion of money is going to be made, and he gets no access to Moscow's money, he gets no access to any mining in Ukraine, he gets nothing, and Ukraine continues the war. The Ukrainians at this point don't even need U.S. intelligence. There's enough NATO system there that they don't. This nullifies Trump. And then you know what'll happen? He'll come back and he'll go, oh, we didn't mean we were going to turn off all the weapons and everything. We still want to do that $50 billion Patriot sale.
But you know something. Meanwhile, today, I'm sorry, Malcolm. Go ahead.
I said Zelensky worked with corrupt politicians his whole life. Trump is just a fucking another corrupt politician, and he knows how to handle him.
And as of this morning, I know Merz canceled all his meetings. Everything was canceled. And Zelensky, from the morning on, he was on the phone with Merz, with Starmer, and with Macron. That was today, the whole day on the phone conversation immediately. And so far,
and again, maybe this is what Trump wants: is Europeans to come back and tell him how wonderful he is.
Oh, 100%. This is part of the stall package. This is part of stalling it, dangling the carrot, keep going. Meanwhile, at the same time, Moscow continues the onslaught. The winter is coming. People are suffering. Energy is being cut off. And again, this is exactly what we keep talking about, what Trump is doing. I don't see anything changing.
You know what? Now, and I want to bring this attention to Jason so that you can write an article about this. Now is a time for an argument that we were making 3 years ago, that it can really have legs. Now would be a time if France, Germany, and England want to be the top leaders here in Europe and replace the United States, just like they don't exist, and rebalance the poles of the world, they would announce a joint European no-fly zone over Ukraine. to where they say, hey, we're just going to start running combat missions, and everything that crosses the Dnipro, we're going to shoot it down in coordination with the Ukrainians.
Well, Europeans have to understand that they're all looking, every one of those countries is looking at a possibility of some Putin-friendly radicals coming into power, and so time is of the essence.
Yeah, but now it's time to do a big Churchill thing, right?
Yep.
Right.
It's time. It's time to bring that no-fly zone argument back.
Exactly.
Yep.
But what
On a
about
large
intelligence?
scale, to say, forget America, time for Europe to take control of Ukrainian skies and to throw in with Ukraine. And let me tell you, there's no Russian Air Force.
Let me ask you a question. But how does that work?
Shut down all the cruise missiles like that F-16 yesterday that was chasing that KH-101. One, Europe would suddenly look completely muscular. And then two, everyone would start buying European weapons on a massive scale, starting with Ukraine. You know, and then the Saudi F-35 sale would look stupid. The Canadians would drop the F-35 and buy the Gripen. And you can stop thinking about fucking Trump in the United States, because we are now an unreliable partner, period. Done.
Oh, definitely.
Would that mean that we would not be part of NATO? I mean, like, isn't NATO controlling the skies there? I mean, how does that work right now? I mean,
well, no, it doesn't have to be NATO. It could be the a European Union.
So they would have to. So they would have to end NATO, right? NATO would then.
NATO is only defensive, and only if they get attacked. If France used to fly airstrikes down in fucking Mali without notifying anybody. If France, Germany, or France by itself, or anyone wants to say, hey, we're now going to use our air assets to patrol Ukraine to free up all of their airspace, which would change the dynamic of the war. It means all those Shahed cruise missile attacks, whoever jumps into this big after Trump leaves Ukraine is going to be a massive winner in Europe. They will be the leader of Europe.
Well,
I agree with you.
I agree with you 100%. Well, listen, I want to say this. I mean, listen, next couple of days, there's a lot that's going to take place. Zelensky's on his way to Jason. When is he supposed to be meeting with Trump? Have they announced it yet?
I don't think they gave the exact date yet. Have they announced it? Last time I checked, they have not.
No,
they have not announced.
It might be a conference. It might be a conference meeting as well. It might not be a physical meeting.
So, yeah, well, I mean, if Zelensky's going to reject this out of hand, there's not going to be any face-to-faces in Washington.
I was going to say, I can't imagine him flying down here.
It's going to be a conference. It's going to be a conference meeting.
So let's do this, guys, because I know a lot of you have.
Go ahead, listen, just one thing. I'm sorry. What I'm checking over here is just to see what the latest news is on this, because it is changing. Zelensky's actually made more statements since we even began this. But the one statement I want to point out is Putin. Putin says the objectives of the SVO, the special military operation, as they call the war in Ukraine, will without a doubt be achieved. Bezuslovno достигнуто. So it's without question, they'll be achieved. So this is the view of the Russians right now. And here we are talking about all they want. It's very clear what they want. They're saying it right here.
But not only that. Listen, today Putin put on the camouflage. He put on the uniform. And he
I saw
general. and he said we took Kupiansk. We took another area, which is a lie. And our SVO operation will be. We will win. We will get it done. That means he's about to push mobilization. He's about to start mobilizing.
I liberated Kupiansk. They haven't taken Kupiansk.
No,
is this opportunity for him to brag before everything goes down again?
They always claim bullshit, and then everything goes south. The war. Can we speak frankly, and I'll have to end here because I'm in the middle of it and I have to leave.
Go ahead, brother.
This war is not ending. To give you an idea of how it's not ending, I've been asked to come back on active duty for a larger unit, a larger International Legion unit. Ukraine is planning on fighting, and as Zelensky says, we will not. We're open to any substantive discussions, but we are not open to surrendering our dignity. And you know what? Too
No.
many people have died for him to surrender. And a big part of this is simple. They want to get a new president. And that's why they want this election within 100 days. And this same list of items on there, limit the size of the Ukrainian army. They must never join NATO. Fuck that shit. In 2 years, 3 years, less than 3 years, there could be a new American president. All right.
Yep.
If I have anything to say with Gavin Newsom, it will be the United States must push Ukraine to join NATO on day one, right? No matter what the status of this war is. We'll have a ceasefire for an hour so that they can say that there's no war. And then we need to come in both feet and end this war. But
I like your vision.
there's an equal chance that the Russian army's line could shatter at any moment because it is stretched thin, has no resupply, and we could wake up where some probing operation down in Pokrovsk finds out that line is paper thin. That's what happened in Kupiansk. And suddenly, Syrskyi gathers up the strength and punches through, and you're like, wow, we're in Melitopol. You don't know. The point is, if you surrender, you'll never know.
100%, and what you're saying is 100% right, because what's happening on the front lines is they're paper thin. They could break any moment. They're
losing.
They're losing. They're not that. That's why you're seeing all of these attacks into Lvov and Western, attacking, civilians, because they're losing on the front line. So they're using terrorist tactics to go.
Yeah, of course.
Malcolm, my brother, thank you so much for joining us here on Love Remembers this as a special. I know you got snowstorm, so take care. Guys, stay tuned. I want each and every one of you give us your final word. Yuri, start off. Give us your final thoughts on what's going on, what's going to happen, and what do you think we'll see in the next days to come?
I think I think this has been a great stream, and I learned several new things. And I think that the important point that I'd just like to convey to my audiences is that while President of the United States is using a lot of bluster to push his point of view, he is not only very weakened in the United States at home, but he can be not necessarily defeated, but he can be stand up to effectively, because we see many instances in the United States where he attacks and then he fails and he retreats. And these situations are going to occur on the international stage as well. And Ukrainians know this, and Ukrainians already know that American guarantee after Budapest Memorandum are worthless. So all of that, just clarity, is what I try to convey to people, because we do not have a mechanism really functionally to get rid of this president effectively at the moment. I do not believe the 25th Amendment is going to be exercised, because this cabinet, they're probably going to be in jail without Trump. So I think that this is not going to be a good option for them. Unless a heavenly burger, summons him upstairs, he's going to be with us until, even if Democrats win all the elections from here on, getting him out of the White House is going to be difficult, and he is going to be raging in there. And it's just great to see journalists who have the guts to ask him about the Epstein case and then see him lose it, because it's a great viral video.
I agree with you, Yuri, and thank you so much for coming. And I tell you this much: we're going to do a lot more of these shows, and I could tell you that Trump is definitely losing it. There's chaos going on there, and there's a lot more that we're going to be on. So thank you so much for that. Everybody. Follow Yuri Rashkin on his YouTube channel.
Follow me on Substack.
Substack also. Follow him on Substack and on YouTube. Take care, Yuri. Thank you so much for joining us.
Ciao, Yuri.
Jay, my brother, tell us what's happening. Huh?
So I think that we're reaching an interesting point, because there's a lot going on, and I think the most important thing, if we want to analyze this seriously, is that which we are doing, obviously. But if we want to have a real understanding, that everyone in this room, in this negotiation process, has his own motivations, right? So in the case of Trump, he wants to win his Nobel Prize. He's got a big problem with Epstein. He's got problems everywhere, right? And so he's got to figure out some way to distract from that. And we've seen Donald Trump for the whole time he's been Donald Trump. Whenever there's a problem, he distracts from it. I think that's part of the strategy here. So the second thing is he's got the Russians giving him information, hence the scandal in Ukraine. But that also is something that put pressure on Ukraine, right? It's an idea that it puts pressure on Zelensky, which is what the Russians want. But then you have the other side of this, which is the Russian side. Their economy is not doing well. It's falling apart. They've got serious internal problems. Actually got a video coming out in 45 minutes or so about the fact that Gerasimov, who's the head of the military, the highest ranking person in the Russian military, it looks like he's disappeared or being fired. There's big problems on the Russian side. They're going to lose 40% of their national budget if the sanctions come out. This is huge for Russia. I mean, it's hard to express what a big deal this is. This is huge for Russia, what's going on right now. So they're looking at this precipice and they're going, we got to pull out all the stops. And hence, I think why they pulled out right now, what's going on with Zelensky, with the administration, with this stuff with Ergo, the energy company. I think it's the same thing as why they're probably bringing out stuff right now about Trump. They're trying to bring as much pressure as possible to distract and say, guys, the fire's not here. Go put out that fire instead. They're trying to get everyone's eyes off of them because right now, Russia's in a bad situation.
I agree with you 100%, Jay. And I want everybody, if you haven't yet, make sure Jason Smart on YouTube and on Substack. There's nobody that knows Russia and the reports on what's going inside of Russia besides the Ukrainian situation. He's also is the one that did the interview of Navalny. So if you had not followed, make sure go follow Jason Smart. Jay, thank you so much for being here. We got a lot more to uncover. I'll see you in a couple of days, and we'll be live again. Take care. Stay safe in Ukraine. Take care, my brother. Alex, my brother.
I cannot hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. We hear you.
I don't
take
hear
us
you.
home.
Anyway, let me just because I was hearing Rashkin left and my sound left. Anyway, thank you for having left and everything we spoke about. I've been going through this from day one of the war, since I woke up 4 a.m. on February 22nd. I used to have friends that they called me within an hour and told me, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be resolved very fast. So then I'm my friends for over 3 years already. I raised their numbers and everything because I believe in my country, I believe in my land, I believe in freedom. And they've been trying to push and push from day one. But people of Ukraine, they will stand because if you look back, it's a great canyon. We can't go back. We can only go forward. So we will go forward. And it turns out, especially for what after our stream today, we all have the same enemy, and it's Russia. The whole world has the same enemy, and it's Russia, because they are the ones that's always putting waves in the calm waters. They are the ones that's been every war that happens in the world, they are in it. So with that said, and I do believe that what Malcom said about the Europe, because from my sources, Europe, after that plan was revealed, Europe was in shock. It was in total, not just little, it was in total shock. So it was like, it's like somebody's telling you your girlfriend's cheating on you, and you say, yeah, she's just too beautiful, somebody's jealous. And then one day when you open the door and you see it, your opinion changes. You understand what kind of trouble you're in. So that's what this 28 steps plan did to Europe, I believe. And from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of movement going on. And like you said, in the next couple of days, you got to watch, because a lot of changes are going to happen. And from where I see our president is doing, he's continue fighting. He's continue dealing with it. He literally in the wars told people to stop the bullshit. Stop making our country weak. Stop the bullshit. Let's get the union. Let's get together and let's go forward. So with that, I want to thank you. I want to thank the world, America, everybody that was on the stream. Thank you for supporting Ukraine. Thank you for being on our side. And as we are always on your side, America and Ukraine, they've been friends, and people love each other, and will continue to that. So the democracy will prevail. We will stay strong. Slava Ukrainian.
Geroim Slava, Alex.
Thank you, Lev.
Well, everyone, I want to thank each and every one of you. We have an incredible audience here on YouTube, on Substack. We're streaming live everywhere. I want to thank everyone who joined us today, because this is just the beginning of a lot of stuff that we're doing behind the scenes to be able to not only bring you the truth behind what Donald Trump is really doing with Putin and what's really going on with Ukraine, but also what we're trying to do to stop. For those of you that want to contribute or support, please, we have a GoFundMe set up for Oleksander's going out there to give aid. For those of you that have contributed already to the GoFundMe, God bless you. Thank you. For those of you that can, please continue to support the GoFundMe because wintertime is there. They need generators. A lot of the country right now is without heat, without water, without lights, and every dollar helps what they can. And the number one thing, please make sure you subscribe. Make sure you become subscribers on all the networks, because the algorithms, we need to be able to get this information out as far as possible. So please join our team, become subscribers. And for those of you that can become paid subscribers, God bless you, because you're the backbone that allows us to continue doing what we're doing. So again, thank you for joining us today, and stay tuned. We have a lot more coming. Take care.